the other day I was like, it was like 11 a.m. and I was like, why am I already so tired? And I was like, oh, I've been like answering questions since the moment I woke up, and like
I
such a
know.
variety of questions. I'd be like, Mama, what are magnets? What is time? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm trying, but
And you're
it's
suddenly an expert on everything because
yeah, it
they
is kind of cool that he thinks I have all the answers, and it also makes me realize how many answers I don't have. But
I know. What's up, guys? We're dreamers, we're moms, and welcome to the Mommy Artist Podcast. Now let's get creatively unhinged. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Mommy Artist Podcast. This one is for my dreamers, my mythical mamas keeping imagination alive with their work while also literally trying to keep a tiny human alive at home with the same equal veracity. In today's episode, we're stepping into another world, Grace's world, a world where memory blurs with imagination, where scraps turn into stories, and where things we thought were just in our heads might actually be something bigger. Grace Lang is a mixed media artist and educator whose work explores personal mythologies, the quiet stories we carry, the identities we shape, and the magic we create just by paying attention and being intentional. Based in upstate New York, Grace creates both 2 and 3 dimensional work that feels layered, playful, and just a bit otherworldly, like something you recognize but can't fully explain. She studied illustration at Parsons, literary studies at Lang, and holds a master's in educational psychology. So basically, she's living at the intersection of art, story, and how we make meaning out of our lives. She also co runs Super Stories, an art education nonprofit and makerspace that feels like a real life portal into creativity. Today, we're talking about imagination, identity, motherhood, and what happens when you stop trying to make sense of everything and just keep dreaming and start creating. Let's get into it. Found you on Instagram. I fangirled. I wouldn't have messaged you, but now since I'm older and, more confident, I did. And I'm so glad I did. I want to start with like little Grace. Like, tell me about you as a child. Did you find yourself extra like imaginative? Did you find that you felt different in any kind of way?
I mean, I think I felt different, but like I was in a family where that was celebrated, so I didn't
Oh,
feel like
perfect.
so different and alienated. My family like are artists, and I'm the youngest of four kids, so
Okay.
I was just like really left to like do my thing a lot, especially like being a kid in the 90s. Like parents were like, just go outside, right? So there
Right.
was a lot of just like wandering around in the woods, and um I was very imaginative. I've always been a big reader and like definitely
Mhm.
into fantasy and like
Yes.
Tolkien.
Mhm.
So I think imagination was always just like sort of a given for me in the way
Mhm.
I think about things,
Mhm.
and I was really into fairies as a kid,
Oh
and
gosh.
animals, and
Still love a fairy.
well, yeah, I mean, it's magic.
It
And like,
is.
I mean, so much beautiful kind of like 70s art
Mhm.
came out related to fairies. Like, I have a book my dad got me when I was a kid. It's a weird book from the 70s about fairies, and there's like nudity in it and stuff, and it was just like
Yeah,
so
but you're like,
cringe. Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah.
And my mom's an artist, so, like, I was definitely always making art as a kid, and she was always kind of thinking of fun, new materials to explore,
Cool.
and it was just, I think, recognized in me that I was really, really into it as a young age, so I think being an artist was part of my identity from a very young age,
Mhm.
in a way I really appreciate. It's like I can never untangle that from my sense of myself, you know?
Right. Right. What about your siblings? Same?
They all like and appreciate art. They are not, visual artists the way I
Okay.
am, but there's, like, a great love for art and storytelling in my family, yeah.
That's awesome. I love that story. And then now you are going to pass that on to your son, and he as well will have grown up in this like super imaginative, like free spirited world, and it's just gonna keep going and going. Some of the mommy artists I talk to, they're like, I call them like first gen artists because
Mhm,
they're the first ones in their family to like really explore this avenue,
mhm.
or it's like maybe it's not okay or, like, their parents, like, "You're not doing art, you need to study
Yeah.
business," or something like that. So I always love to hear about, like, generational art families. That's really cool. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. You are a very educated lady. You have many degrees.
I
Um,
yeah,
and it's
and
so
I
funny
actually
because
like school.
no, I love school. I also I have my master's in literature.
Oh, right
So
on.
I yeah. So, I always loved it too. I always tell my kids, like, "This is the best time of your lives." And they're
I mean,
like,
the
"No."
only thing anyone is asking of you is to, like, learn stuff and figure
I
out what you find
know.
interesting and read about it. It's like, "Come on, man, it's so cool." I
I
feel
know.
like school is wasted on young people in so many ways because I would be so good at school now,
Oh, I
um,
know.
but
But now
that's
you
not
teach. So
Yeah,
maybe that
exactly. Yeah, I don't need
there
to
you
go to
go.
school, but I think I'd kill it. I'd be yeah.
You can get your PhD. It's not over.
No, that's true, but that's the whole thing.
How does your literary intelligence influence your visual perspective?
So, I mean, I think on the first level, it's just like I've always loved stories and
Mhm.
storytelling. And I've always been someone who's like sort of telling my own story in my own head all the time.
Yes.
And even though I am a visual artist, I think a lot in words and like kind of narrating and I'm sure everyone just like having all the conversations all the time in your head. Like my partner will look at me and be like, "You're talking to someone right now." Like I it's embarrassing. But I think something that became really helpful for me when I was in college, I was in a dual degree program getting a BA and a BFA,
Okay.
and I was learning a lot about close reading in literature and how to like really pay attention to word choices and
Mhm.
the choices authors make that like this how style affects the substance of writing and really
Yes.
thinking about um reading more deeply into text other than what is just said. And
Mm.
at that time, I was also studying illustration at Parsons, and so it helped me kind of apply that methodology to my own artwork, and I started reading my artwork deeply, and that was how
Cool.
I kind of understood what my art was about, and it still is, like, a lot of the work I'm making now, I don't really think about what it is as I'm making it, and I've only come to understand, like, what it means and any deep meanings that are in there through kind of investigating it the way you investigate, like, a work of literature.
I love that. That was the perfect answer to that question.
Thank you.
I feel the same way. I think, I guess, just studying literature the way that you do look at I don't know, even like the syntax and and you study so much about like the author's story and like what they're trying to convey. And like you just get so deep into the text that normal people don't, that you do have. And I always have this ongoing monologue in my head, which when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily grow up in a very imaginative family. So I was like, I'm just weird. Like
Mhm.
I don't know really anyone like me. I think I need like but yeah, there's like a constant narrative going on, and then getting into literature, it's like, "Oh, this makes sense. There's other people, other deep thinkers out there like this." And then I also studied film, and so the way that I watch a movie is like completely different now. So I'm
Yeah.
like looking at the colors they use and what the intention of this is. And it's like, it's fun, but it also sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could just watch a movie like a regular person. And I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean, I
always
have a
like,
lot of film people in my family as well, and it's the same thing where that's like, "Oh, that lighting was terrible." I'm like,
yeah,
"Okay."
I know. That's funny. Go into your artistic journey. What does personal mythology mean to you?
Well, I mean, I guess it's a way of and I think everybody has this, it's a way of thinking about your past and, like, attaching meaning to different moments in your past or
Mhm.
different ages, different things that meant something to you as a kid or throughout different periods of your life, but I think what I've been thinking about a lot lately is, like, how much of life has sort of begun for me in recent years just as a mom, and, like, it's not like I think, "Oh, my life began when I have a kid," but it is a really distinct, new phase of life that
Mhm.
I will now be in forever.
Right.
Um, so thinking about how your mythology actually changes as you change as well, and, like,
Mhm.
family mythologies is really a fun thing to think about,
Yes.
the inside jokes you have with the kid or the traditions you have or just like all the silly little personal languages you create with like within a
Mhm.
family ecosystem and then
Mhm.
that's made me reflect on that in my own childhood as well.
And when you become a mom, you relive it's like your second childhood. You get to relive
Yeah.
your childhood in a sense through your child. It's the baby phase and the toddler phase is like very playful and fun, but I feel like really when they get a little bit older, you start, when like Santa or whatever, and it's like
Mhm.
the magic comes back and you get to relive the magic and and then interpret it in your own way because now it's like your child and you're like, okay, how am I going to spin this?
Totally.
How am I going to like, and it's so
Well, there's
fun. It's
such
like,
fun freedom there to, like, create
yes,
those mythologies for your child, right? I mean, it's
yes.
wild to think, like, how much effort I'm constantly putting in right now for an age that actually I don't remember. I don't remember being 2, right? Some people do,
Hmm.
but yeah, so like you're saying, I'm excited as he gets older for all the
Hmm.
memories we create and, like, family language we create as he's actually remembering.
Yeah.
Even though, like,
And I
his body and spirit will remember everything that's
Exactly.
happening right now
That's what
for
I was gonna say too. Yeah, even though you don't have distinct memories, you get like a vibe. You remember the vibe of like what it was.
Yeah.
So your artwork is very dreamlike. I would say it's very like kids would look at it and love it. Like, is that intentional? Was your art always like that, or did it develop over time? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the work I'm making now is incredibly different from the work I made in my 20s. So my work in my 20s was it was all, I called it like the babes, like these like babe women with
Okay.
demons, battles. It was very, very influenced by like kind of heavy metal artwork and
Oh,
sci-fi
cool.
and fantasy, very illustrated, very like very, very, maximalist was kind of a word I was using a lot, where I was, like,
Hmm.
really, really filling pages, and a lot of the work was it had a playful element, but it was, like, very much about communicating themes related to, like, pain and overcoming pain.
Hmm.
I had a big spine surgery when I was a teenager, and that was just, like, sort of the defining piece of my life for a very long time, and so I think throughout
Right.
my 20s, I was just, like, exercising that. I felt like I just was using my art as a way to prove to people that I'd been through something tough, because like,
Right.
when you look at someone, you can't tell, right? And
Right.
then at a certain point, I, like, exercised it. I was sort of just totally done, and that was a really strange, tough feeling, because I had built at least the beginning of a kinda cool career,
Hmm.
and I had a really big body of work, but I was just so bored making that work. I didn't wanna make it anymore.
Right.
I was like, "Huh, I've never even considered doing anything other than being an artist. What is something I could maybe do that's, like, art related, but, like, what are some other skills I have?" And then, I just started kind of thinking about it and, like, pulling back a little bit from the work I was making, and then COVID hit, so I
Mm.
spent, like, a my sister's family came upstate where I live now, to live at my parents' house, so my partner and I just took care of her kids who were, like, 3 and 5 at the time every day, and we just made art all the time.
Oh, cool.
And that was sort of how I realized that I really enjoyed making art with kids. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed the creative challenge of coming up with projects and figuring out how to explain them to kids and, like,
Mhm.
and that is something I keep coming back to as part of why I like teaching so much is that it forces you to be a problem solver, and I think part of what I was really bored of in my work in my basically, like, as I turned 30 was, I wasn't problem solving anymore, like, it was sort of a formula.
Right.
And it was
That you
work that
figured
I
out.
think yeah, it was all figured out, and it was, like, work that was, in a lot of ways, concerned with other people more than me,
Mhm.
like, what people were getting from it. I really wanted to make sure people could see, like, I could paint, I could render things,
Right.
things were very clean. And so then I started just teaching. I worked at an art center up here where I live, and I wasn't thinking about my own work for a while. All the art I was making was like samples with projects with kids.
Mhm.
And then that helped me kind of really lean into what I enjoyed making. And that was like very wonky because when I do workshops with kids, I'm not trying to make something perfect. I don't want them to think they need to make something perfect. So I was like very
Right.
purposefully being a little goofy. And then I found a trunk of my own childhood artwork at my mom's house and was really
Ooh,
drawn to these, like, dogs that I was painting a lot as a kid, like, there's some of the dogs
cool.
there,
Yes.
um, and it's, like, kind of the classic, like, sort of Snoopy, like, dog that I think everyone painted, but I was just like, "Whoa, this is" like we were saying, like, "This is my part of my mythology," like, this was a character I drew repeatedly as a kid,
Mhm.
um, wouldn't that be fun to just paint it huge? So I just started painting the dog and then really investigating more of the compositions from my own childhood work
Mhm.
and really, like, letting myself be very free with the way I was painting, not concerned with whether or not it looked like I was a skilled painter, but just actually enjoying
Right.
it. And that
Right.
also lends itself to being a mom because you don't have as much time. You have to
Right.
accept, mess and imperfection. And now I'm at a place where I actually like I like for Otis to come in and sort of like scribble on the canvas and mess it up a
Yes.
little. So it's been really fun because I think the work itself just visually is like joyful and not
Absolutely.
necessarily deep. It's just like visually playful, which I think is a great thing in the world right now for things to just make you
Yes.
feel good. But then for me, it is really meaningful because like in the act of creation, I'm tapping into my inner child and I'm really like in communication with little Grace all the time and like giving her this voice. So I think that's been what's so fun about it. It's like it's emotionally deep in the way that the work I was making before was, or
Mhm.
like emotionally satisfying, but it's not concerned with, anyone really understanding that when they look at it, you know what I mean? It's much
Yeah.
more for myself.
Yes, and so you've gotten past that, like, perfection, or, like, needing to show people, like, "I'm a true artist, like, I've studied
Yes.
and I can do this," and now it's like, I'm sure it's so freeing to just be able to, like, do what you want. Like we were talking about earlier, how as we get older, we get more confident, like, put the cares aside, but it's still something deeply meaningful for you because that's such a cool story how you found these old artworks from your childhood and you're just basically, recreating them and turning them in now to your motherhood journey, and you get to share it with Otis, and that's so cool.
It's gonna be funny to see, like, how I can really pull him into art making with me because 'cause he'll do a li he's just
Mhm.
very all over the place all the
Oh,
time, he's very
yeah. It's
physical,
this
so it's like
age.
it's worked when we get to go big because then he can actually be physical with it, so I'm
Yes.
looking forward to the warm weather, we can go outside and, like, paint something really big together, but
Yes. Oh, that's such a cool story. Thank you for sharing that. So you do 2D and 3D artwork. What materials are you, like, currently obsessed with using?
I mean, for my 2D work, just, like, acrylic paint, I love acrylic paint,
Mhm,
but I think for 3D work, I love making paper pulp, so in my space my maker space for kids, there's often, like, discarded artwork and
mhm.
cardboard and stuff you can't recycle because it's gluey or painty, so I shred it all and put it in a blender and mix it with glue and joint compound, like, people on the internet are all doing this right now, it's some people
Okay,
call it
okay.
paper mache, I call it paper pulp because I think of paper mache as, like, more wrapping with newspaper, but it's all
Yes,
the
yes.
same stuff.
I remember
Um,
that from, like, 5th grade art, paper mache. We
yeah,
did, like, a
I
balloon.
love that too, that is really fun. But, yeah, right now I'm really, really digging, using the paper pulp because it dries very, very hard and sturdy, and it has a texture to it that I think really lends itself to just, like, the wonkiness I'm always looking for.
Cool, yeah.
And it's also just part of sort of a circular ecosystem of art making where you're
Yes.
using things, so I've been playing with that, and I'm looking into, like, getting into cement a little bit so I can make some outdoor sculptures. That's sort of a
Mhm.
2026 goal.
Oh, cool. Love
Yeah.
that, love that. Before having your own child, you worked with children. Did they influence your art style? Because we already talked about how your former art influenced your new art style, but also, I guess, just working with the kids, did you learn anything from them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it
Yes.
was through working with kids and, stepping back and watching kids
Mhm.
create that I really was able to tap into the state I wanted to be in when I was making work. I mean, part of it is just from, like, a purely aesthetic standpoint, I just love the way children's artwork looks. I think it's, like,
Yes.
it's free, it's goofy, the proportions are weird. So it's like
Yes.
I just wanted to create that because I just like how it actually looks, you know?
Mhm.
But then thinking about how many times in my sort of previous life I would repaint a line because I felt like it wasn't right,
Mhm.
and then wondering, like, "Why was I doing that?" And I think actually at the time I needed to, there was something there that was making sense for me, the ability to, like, go back and rework,
Yes.
and I'm just not interested in that anymore,
Mhm.
um and that's something you see kids doing all the time where, like, they feel like they've messed up, and sometimes they actually do just crumple it and start over, or
Mhm.
they turn it into something, um, but I also started noticing just, like, the wonderful, wild confidence that you see in kids who they'll be like, "I draw the best trees in my class, everybody
Yes.
knows." And you're like, "You do draw
Yes.
the best trees in your class," you
I
know? And it's
love
just
that.
I
Yes.
was like, "I wanna feel that way," you know? And I just want to make stuff as if it's like how a kid is always like, "Oh, I'm making this for my mom or my aunt or something." It's like,
Mhm.
make stuff as if you're just making it for someone you love who's gonna love it, you know?
Right. Yeah, and I think that you had to go through that season of life where you were, like, perfectionist to get to where you are now. It's like
Yeah,
you need one before the other because you wouldn't have appreciated as much if you hadn't gone through that. And
totally.
so I think that's important.
Yeah. And to
Um,
imagine having that feeling now with a toddler, I would lose my mind if I felt
I
like
know.
I it's like, I'm really glad I did it when it was just me.
I know. One weird thing that happened, so my daughter took art classes for a while, and we started watching YouTube videos of, like, how to draw things, right? And she would want me to do it with her. And so
Mhm,
I would try, and I'm not, like, a great artist or whatever, but I could follow the directions, and it would always end negatively, which I was not expecting because hers wasn't as good as mine. And
mhm,
and I I kept being like, "Well, babe, I'm, 39 years old. Like I've been, doing this for a while. You're like 4 or whatever." And
mhm,
and shit just didn't click. And so I don't know. I think if I had approached it, maybe not like the certain drawing classes and it was just like more free form, it would have been
mhm.
better because I don't know. That was a weird experience that I was not expecting.
I think I've seen that happen so many times, especially, and if it even if she wasn't making it with you, I think she would compare it to, like, the video she's like, I think
Mhm.
I mean, it's like we all have that in us, right? Where we, like, compare our worst thing to the best thing someone else is showing.
Exactly.
It's just, like, what
Exactly.
social media is, basically. But
Mm.
I think I'm very aware of that, and so whenever I'm doing a demo, I actually, like, mess up on purpose just to show that, like, I mess up too, here's how you might handle it, um, because yeah, I mean, it's very real. It's tough. It's tough. 'Cause I feel
Yeah,
like
it
I
wasn't
learned to draw through copying things, but I didn't have YouTube as a kid, so I was more like looking at Garfield and just trying to
at the
figure it out
mhm.
rather than following along with a video. But then again, there's Bob Ross, right? So,
Right.
I
He's
think
like
it's
the
just like different
OG
things work
of
for different kids.
I know, I know. My son, he's very technical. I mean, it's so funny. My daughter is like her like handwriting. Like that's how I can tell them apart right now. Like he's younger by 2 years, but his handwriting is much neater, much
Mhm,
more like uniform than hers. Hers is still pretty like wonky, crazy like and the way he draws is very technical. And he
mhm.
loves to draw like at this moment tanks unfortunately and like like battles of people and she'll just kind of she's more like free form. We'll just kind of draw like color bursts and stuff like that. So it's fun to watch the two different personalities and the two I don't know if it's really gender related, but I think it's just they're just two different kids and it's cool to watch them
Yeah.
express themselves differently.
I mean, that's what's so wonderful about art. It's like it has space for all the different ways of being, right? It's like if something like soccer, it's like you kind of have to, I mean, I guess there's many ways, different styles to soccer, right? But it's not something as
Mhm.
like wide, or even like
I get what
athletics
you're
in
saying.
general is okay. I don't really know the point I'm trying to make there, but what I mean is like if you expose your kids to different kinds of art, they can
Yes.
see that there is like room for being very technical and there's room for being very free and it's all celebrated and beautiful. And like art is a space where every personality type can find a way of making something that feels really good. I mean, that's part of
Mhm,
why we call our space here a maker space and not an art space, is because
mhm,
there are a lot of kids who are like, "Oh, I'm not an artist." I'm like, "Oh, do you use Legos?"
mhm, mhm,
Like, "Oh, you're a builder, you're a maker." And we in our after school art club right now, it's actually a lot of boys, and a lot of what they're doing is like cardboard cutting, gluing, building, and it's
mhm.
probably not stuff that like their teachers would have called art, so they didn't know that they were artists, but that
Right.
is what they're doing.
Yes, I talk about that all the time in the Mommy Artist podcast because I interview all types of artists and all the and so for me it was like performance art. And so it's cool to let my kids know that like there's so many forms of self-expression that you can call art out there that's available to you and that you should not, put yourself in one box or like there's no box. Like when you're an
Yeah.
artist, there is no box. It's like I like to think of it as looking through a lens. Like you look at it through an artist's lens where you're more intentional. You notice things that other people might not notice. You find beauty in the world and you find pain in the world and you're able to like communicate that through whatever medium that you're given. And I just think that's cool about being artists.
I think it's like sounds so whatever, but it's like, yeah, it's like a lifestyle, I think, being an artist. I think about that
Absolutely.
with my mom all the time where like she's not painting a lot these days, but the way she sets a table, the way she um organizes flowers, it's just like I think there are so many ways to make art part of your life, even if you're not generating things, right? Like
Exactly. Or making money o that's a big thing, like, I'm not an
yeah,
artist because 'cause I'm not making money off my art. Well, I'm
yeah,
trying to, like, cut that whole thing out of the equation because
yeah,
I too thought I wasn't an artist because I wasn't acting and I wasn't making money, but then I had to, like, through therapy and all the things, relearn, like, yes, you are, it's just it's a state of mind. I really truly think that. So,
yeah,
that's awesome.
absolutely.
What do you hope, I guess, when your son gets older, that he takes away from your art, from you raising him in this, like, free artist kind of, like, community? Like, what do you hope he, takes with him?
A big thing for me is him always knowing that I have a complex identity outside of being his mom, right? So
Mhm.
that's part of why it's important for me for him to see me making art and just doing and having friends and doing things. Like I want him to know that he is the most important thing in my life, but not the only thing in my life.
Exactly.
Um,
That's important.
and I want him to see me enjoying these things so that he will want to make art as well. But
Mhm.
my goal with him and like the space I run is not that I think every kid should grow up and become a professional artist. It's that I think pursuing art or having a space to pursue art freely as a kid creates the transferable skills that make really good citizens of the world. It's like valuing creativity, collaboration, problem solving,
Couldn't agree
um,
more.
kindness, compassion, open mindedness, all of these things I think if kids in my space all grow up to become like scientists and doctors and police officers and lawmakers and all of these things, but like value the things that they were able to, foster and grow through art making, then that is like the ultimate
Ugh,
goal.
that was so good. It's a
Oh,
great
thank
answer. I'm glad we have that recorded because, like, oh my gosh, that was so insightful, and I agree with you 100%. Like, I think theater and art should be taught all the
Yeah.
time in every situation,
Theater
no
is
matter
huge.
what.
Like for
It's
empathy building, for on the spot problem solving, like I
absolutely.
think like, I did theater games so much as a kid, and it's some of the most fun I remember ever
Oh
having
my
because
gosh,
it's
I
freedom
still
to be weird. It's like why people still like to wear costumes on Halloween, like, isn't it just fun
yes.
to imagine yourself as somebody else?
Yes, and I love being weird with my kids too, I mean, like, "Don't be so serious." Like, they're so, worried about everything, and it's like,
Yeah,
"No, I can show you weird." Like, let
yeah.
me, like and, like,
And
having
I
the
feel
pink
like kids now are
hair.
very concerned with things being cringe because it's like they're growing up in a
Yes.
world where everything is filmed and shared, that it's
Yes.
this sort of fear, that
Yeah.
I just don't think existed in the '90s where we were like, "No one's
No.
paying attention," you know?
No, it
Like
didn't. You talked about your art making space, and that is Super Stories. Is
yeah,
that correct? That's what it's called?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you tell me just a little bit about its origins, how it started, a little bit about it?
Yeah. So my partner Ramiro and I are both artists and muralists, and we both were, when we lived in New York City, we were like creating careers as muralists, painting our own style, our own stuff. It's cool, whatever. And then we both at the same time kind of started thinking about how to involve community more in mural
Mhm,
making
mhm.
because a mural really shouldn't be about your voice because it's a gift to a community and
Right,
those are the people that live with the mural, not you.
right.
And so we started doing these murals with kids where they would give us drawings. We would kind of quilt them together sort of into an image and then paint it with them. And then we would clean it up. So the end result is a clean, crisp mural, but all of the drawings are kind of wonky, weird
Mhm.
giraffes and dogs on skateboards and all of that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Um, and so we were just doing that, and that's we, like, named it Super Stories just to create the organization, and we were doing that for a little while, and then I was also doing, like, kind of offsite art workshops with kids,
Mhm.
and then the opportunity to have this space right in our little town in upstate New York. sort of turned up, and I knew through working at another art center that parents were pretty eager for more kind of after school and weekend arts related programming for their kids. So we started that, and that was right when I actually had our son, so I couldn't kind of go into schools all day and be doing the murals. So now Ramiro at this phase, Ramiro is a more of the mural artist, and he
Mhm.
works with, um, schools and community organizations in New York and Massachusetts and Vermont, mainly on the East Coast, although we just did one in Lima, Peru when we were traveling, which was really cool.
Wow.
Um,
Awesome.
so he does more of that, and then I'm running the space where we have our after school programs and, free weekend family drop-in maker sessions. A lot of what we do is sort of based on this very open-ended approach to arts education where you're just
Mhm.
putting out materials,
Mhm.
maybe giving some prompts, but letting people do what they want with it,
Mhm.
instead of having a sample that they're all trying to match. Because I think there's a lot of place for that when especially learning new materials, but I know that's what's happening in school already.
Right.
So ours is a space where they can just completely explore and be in charge, which I think, kids really crave, moments where
Absolutely.
they feel like they get to make the choices and be in charge. So it's like they're deciding what they make, when it's done, um, whether they keep it, all of that, and sort of finding a balance between that approach and then some stuff where I am leading them a little bit more through a process. But even with that, like all the decisions are up to them. I just want them to learn how to use the material so that they'll be successful.
That's
And we have
cool.
an adult art club and a knitting club because I've started seeing when families come to drop in maker hours, a lot of the time they sit with their kids working, and then after a few minutes, the parents are like, "Okay." And then the kids are like,
Yeah.
"I'm ready to go," and the moms are like, "I need to keep
Like,
collaging."
"No, I'm
Yeah,
still working." Yeah.
exactly. So, that's been really wonderful because it's helped me, just tap into my community and other creatives, and like you were saying, the idea of like, "Are you an artist if you're not making money?" Like,
Mm,
how many people, adults, are artists, value art making, but also have other jobs and just want a
mm.
space where they can go be creative with other adults. Um, so I started the space really thinking about how much I like making art with kids, but what has become what I love about it is like that it is a community space.
I love that, and I'm so jealous, and I wish y'all
Come
should,
visit.
y'all should franchise it and, like like, bring one to Houston. Oh my gosh, Houston
Livin.
actually, Houston ha is, we have a lot of good arts programs, but,
Yeah.
I live in kind of like a suburb of Houston
Mhm.
where it's, more, very heavily sports related.
Yeah.
Kids are, they're by 6, they're in, this elite sports program, or they have no chance in high school, or all
Mm.
that kinda stuff, and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I wish there was just,
Yeah.
some other option out
There
there."
is a really, really cool, I mean, it's not, a maker space that you could go to, but it's just worth looking at. It's a gallery and space in Houston called Sage, and it's
Okay.
for adults with different,
That's my
like,
son's name.
abilities. Oh, really?
Sorry. Yeah.
Amazing. So and it's just one of these beautiful art spaces where it's like an art space for adults with different abilities, and then it's like a gallery that represents their work, and I've
Cool.
purchased some pieces from them. It's just, like, really cool stuff
Oh,
worth checking out
awesome.
for sure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Where can someone purchase your artwork right now?
Um, Through me, they can just email me. Um
Email you, or your Instagram's the best?
Or yeah, DM me. Because I've been really focused the past few years on sort of creating this new body of work because I'm sure like the selling yourself piece of being creative is not that
Ugh,
fun,
no.
and when you don't have a lot of time, it
Mhm.
definitely isn't how you wanna spend, like, the 2 hours you get a day. So I'm only now really trying to I'm in a couple group shows, and I'm planning for, a solo show in the summer, so right now I'm finally, like,
Okay.
putting it out there a little bit more, but, I take commissions. I'm happy to sell any of the work that's not hanging in my house, so, yeah, people can
Cool.
email.
Oh my gosh, because I need a piece of
Yeah,
your
let's do
artwork.
it.
It's so
Let's
cool.
do it.
And,
Yeah.
my kids would die. They would love it.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, I think, we're at the end of our session. Okay, well, hopefully we'll talk again soon, but thank you so much for your time today. All right, besties, my glass is empty, but my cup is full, and that means it's the end of the episode. Remember that you can't have butterfly conversations with caterpillar people, and that everyone out there is trying their best. Love you. Bye. You can find Find the Mommy Artists podcast on YouTube to watch the full video. Give it a like, hit subscribe, and come back next week for more iconic chaos and creative magic. But no worries if not.